Hi and welcome to another one of my classic licks videos. This time we're going to take a look at the playing of the great Jimmy Reed. And Jimmy Reed played guitar and mostly harmonica on his tunes. Played some guitar, but he also had other guitar players. And so really we should be taking a look at the guitars played on the recordings by Jimmy Reed. Now I filmed this lesson about a year ago or more, and I didn't do such a hot job, so I want to do this over again. My guitar in particular had some issues and it didn't sound very good. So this is a remake of a lesson that I've already had posted on YouTube for a while. And hopefully this will be better. When you listen to Jimmy Reed's playing, a lot of the tunes he recorded for VJ Records in Chicago back in the 50s and 60s featured 3 guitars. And so when you want to learn the Jimmy Reed style, there's actually 3 layers of guitar that you've got to sort through. And in this lesson we're going to take a look at the first layer, which are the bass rhythms. That's what I call any rhythm that's being played on the bass strings. And then later in the next couple lessons we'll take a look at the chords that are played over the top of the bass rhythms, and then the fills and leads and stuff that Eddie Taylor played, who was the more famous guitar player that played on Jimmy Reed's recordings. So let's take a look at what's called the shuffle rhythm. There are a lot of guys that teach this, and I've looked around on YouTube and it seems like everybody and their brother tries to teach the Jimmy Reed stuff. I'm not saying I do it right or wrong or whatever, but I'm just going to teach you the way I hear it and the way I play it on a lot of stuff that I do. Okay, starting in the key of E. And the basic Jimmy Reed shuffle, the bass rhythm that you hear in the key of E, is just a 1-4-5 progression, going from the E to the A, E to the A, and then the B, A, E. So I'll just play this for you one time and then we'll break it down. Turnaround there, I just kind of skipped that. So the bass rhythm is really pretty simple, and what I'm doing is putting my first finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and then I'm starting it out hitting the open 6th string and the 5th string fretted at the 2nd fret. Now when you do this, you can use your right hand and you mute the strings down by the bridge with your right hand palm, and you can mute this as little or as much as you like, not at all. There's not any video. The only video I've ever seen of Jimmy Reed actually playing this rhythm is a video that's on YouTube of him playing for a TV station in Houston, like a public access or something. And he's playing bare-fingered. You can barely hear what he's doing, but it sounds like he's not even muting it at all. Probably drunk out of his mind, which he tended to be. Who knows? But if you listen to the recordings, to me it sounds like whoever's playing this is muting it a little bit. So if you play it without muting it, it sounds like this. If I use my right hand palm and mute it, you get this. So you can mess around with that and get it to wherever you want to get it. That's over the 1, which is the E. When he goes to the 4 or the A, he just takes his first finger and moves it over to the 4th fret, 4th string, 2nd fret. And then he plays the open 5th string with the 4th string. And I didn't even explain this, but what I'm doing, let's go back to the E. I'm taking my ring finger, putting it down on the 4th fret of the 5th string, and I'm still hitting the open 6th string, and then I'm just sliding that to the 5th fret, back to the 4th fret. When I first started playing this, being like in high school, I tried to play it like this. And then when I was in college, I got to see Jimmy Vaughn and the Fabulous Thunderbirds play at a place called the Cubby Bear Lounge right outside Wrigley Field in Chicago, and I got to be right up front. And I was still learning guitar, and I watched Jimmy Vaughn, and I noticed that he did the slide with the ring finger. Like that. And it's just a lot easier to do. And then when you move it over to the A, you're just doing the same thing, but the ring finger is going to be on the 4th string. Back to the 1. Then when he goes to the 5, he does to the B. It's just something like that. And each of his tunes, he may do it a little differently. You hear a lot of guys play that, they just play the straight B. But if you listen real carefully to Jimmy Reed's stuff, he does this real unusual thing. And what's unusual about it is he's putting his first finger on the 4th fret of the 4th string. Now normally this could be a B7th chord shape, like the beginning of a B7th, like this. And the bass is just like the A7th down here. You've got that bass pattern accessible with the A7th chord. Just slide it down to, or up to. But when I hit the open 5th string, it's an A, it's not a B. So it sounds a little off. But he didn't seem to bother those guys any, they just did it anyway. Keith Richards wrote a book. I've recently read his biography, and he talks about how, it's so mind-blowing to learn what he was doing there. It's really a simple idea, but it just doesn't make any sense. You don't think of it right away. So for the B, he's getting the open 5th string with the 1st or the 4th fret of the 4th string. And then he walks with the 2nd and 3rd fingers to the 5th and 6th frets of the 5th string. Back to that B. Whoops. Then he stretches all the way to the 7th fret sometimes. Sometimes he just goes to the 6th fret. And, it sounds a little weird, but that's what he does. Other times he goes all the way to the 7th fret of the 4th string. Back to the 4. Whatever the turnaround is. So that is the basic Jimmy Reed shuffle pattern in E. Now if you want to play an A, you just move everything over. So you start it on the A with the 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Now when you get ready to go to the 4, you move it over again and get to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. And that's now a D, because you're hitting the open 4th string. Now when you go to the 5, it's an E7. So we're just doing the same thing we did out of the B7, moving everything over. So it's actually E7. Then I'm going to go all the way to the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Then back to the 1. So there's just the basic pattern. Now you can do some variations on that. One thing you can do is just not do the slide and just go up and down between the 2nd and the 4th strings. So you might hear something like this in a Jimmy Reed tune. There's a tune called I'm Nervous. And I think I don't know if that's the one or not, but he stays just like this. And then he goes to the 4. Or you could just stay. Or you could mix it up. Sometimes you could just go back and forth between the 2 and the 2nd and the 4th fret. Then mix in that slide. If you listen to Jimmy Reed's recordings, you'll hear some variations in that basic pattern. Now some different stuff that you can do. Some variations that I'll throw in, just some simple stuff. One is just a little lead-in pattern that you can play. So if you're typically over the 1 and the 4. So if you're in E and you want to play, you could do something like this. something like that. And all I'm doing is I'm on the 5th string for the E. I'm hitting open 5th, 1, 2, playing it like that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then when I go to the A, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's a tune called Going by the River. Going to the river, going by the river, that's got something like that in it. And also there's one called Left-Handed Woman, where he does a lot of those little lead-in things that are kind of neat. Now another variation on this basic boogie rhythm is when he does like a faster shuffle, tunes like Shame, Shame, Shame. And on those tunes he plays the same thing, but then he plays more of an up-tempo pattern, something like this. Something along those lines. But basically I'm really muting with my right hand palm. Sometimes you can, use your right hand and mix up the rhythm, add a little more to it. But the basic thing is 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Something like that. So there you have some variations on the basic Jimmy Reed bass rhythm pattern, shuffle rhythm, which you hear in 95% of the songs that he recorded. If you have any questions, comments, let me know. I hope this is an improvement on the first version of this, although my guitar still sounds a little shaky. I've got some issues with the 6th string and getting it to sound exactly the way I want. I don't play on the 6th string when I use this guitar too much right now, so I don't worry about it. But if that sounds like crap, I'll just re-record it again. Have any questions, comments, let me know. And I did leave out a couple parts that I taught in the original version of this video. It's a boogie bass rhythm that I'm going to teach again when I do some videos on the guitars of Slim Harpo. Pretty much the same thing, so I'll just get to it then. Hope this is better. Thanks for your comments. See you again soon.